Hey YouTube, welcome back to the shop. I just wanted to, it's been a couple of weeks since I've done a video, so I'm a little bit behind, but I want to show you guys where we're at on the Denali project truck. So as you can see, it's pretty ripped apart. Parts have started to trickle in. I think the majority of the parts are going to be here tomorrow. So that'd be the box, fenders, doors, mirror, headlight, front bumper, airbags are all supposed to be here tomorrow. A friend of ours came and he helped me get the cab squared away. That's just an epoxy primer. Still needs final blocking and fitment once we get the door in. But if you see my first video on the truck, you see how much damage was here. We were able to get a lot of it pulled out and straightened out and then body worked it back. Got the box off. Went ahead and power washed all the frame while I had the box off and cleaned up everything as best we could. I mean, it is a relatively new truck. It's only 4 years old, but there's a little bit of rust here and there that I'm going to clean up and then oil spray all this before we put the box back on. We got all the rear brakes are all done and taken care of. Got the new wheels and tires on the back. I got the exhaust sitting here, which at the time when I did the first video and when I got the truck, I didn't realize this was all gone. So the DPF, everything had been cut out of the truck. So I was able to get this from an auto wrector with all the sensors and everything like that. So all this will get put back under the truck. And then right now, I'm just working on the front brakes. So I've already got the passenger side done. The driver's side, this side here, the caliper is leaking. So this one here, the tire blew out, and then the steel wires from the tire got wrapped into the caliper and actually damaged one of the pistons. I was able to get pistons and seals for that caliper, so I'm going to go ahead and film it while we do replace the seals in that caliper. And then I've got new rotors, pads, and a brake wear sensor to go in it as well. I'll get the time lapse set up, we'll get this all apart, and then we'll get the caliper over to the bench and get it apart as well. Okay, so we got the caliper off, got the rest of the brakes off, everything's kind of cleaned up. I went over to the parts washer and just used a little bit of brake clean, but let me show you what we got going on. So GM decided to use a phenolic plastic caliper piston, which maybe that'll be good in the long run for like seized caliper situations, but as you can see here, where the steel wire from the wheel got wrapped around in there, it destroyed the seal, it broke some chunks off of this piston. So this piston here is no good. This one here looks fine, the rubber boot is fine, everything on this side is okay, so it's just the one. So I've got a new piston here from Rock Auto. There's our new piston there from Rock Auto. And then I've also got a piston seal and the cup seal. That's genuine GM AC Delco. And then I've also got, same thing, genuine GM. I've got the pins and the boots and the hardware for the caliper bracket, because the boots on this are tore pretty bad. I can only assume also from the piece of wire that got wrapped around that. So I won't do this on a time lapse. I'll kind of leave the camera rolling for the whole thing so you guys can see how this comes apart. We'll get a new piston, seal and everything slapped in here, new pins and bushings, and then we'll get it put back on the truck. Too often in this day and age, stuff like this, like, oh, you need a new caliper, right? Get sent back, get a reman one, or you get a new genuine one, but these are like $300 Canadian for a genuine one, something like that. And like $190 for a reman from Rock Auto. And I think piston, pins and bushings, seals. I think it was like 36 bucks for all three of these from Rock Auto. It was like 11 bucks for the seal kit, 11 bucks for that, and 12 something for that. So basically 1/10 of the cost of a new caliper. And we remain with a genuine GM caliper. The only thing that won't be genuine GM would be the piston itself. So that's pretty wild. I don't know if you can catch it on the camera halfway, but that is the bottom of the piston. So the piston actually broke in 2 pieces. So whatever happened there. But again, this is all plastic of some sort. But that's what it should look like. That's what the one we pulled out looked like. All right, so you're gonna want to put a little bit of brake fluid just to lubricate the seal and lubricate the piston. And all that's left to do is to push the boot in. There you have it. That's all ready to go. We'll go ahead and get all the new pins and rubber boots in there, and then I'll throw it back on a time lapse, and we'll get the rest of the brakes put back on the truck. These are really simple. Literally just pull out so long as they're not seized. You can see why I'm doing this. These boots are just destroyed. I didn't see the boots themselves on Rock Auto. Seemed to just be the best just to get the kit, the pins, the boots, and the hardware, because believe it or not, this had mismatched caliper bolts on a 4-year-old pickup. So somebody either tried to fix this caliper before and lost the hardware, or maybe the bolts were damaged. This boot here is actually in okay shape. I'll probably hang on to this pin in this boot just to have around. In my experience, almost every time I do the brakes on my F-150, these pins tend to be seized. Doesn't seem to matter how good I clean them, how good I grease them. Every time I service the brakes, the pins end up seized. And from what I understand on this truck, these are the same front and rear. The calipers are the same, so this will be useful for either one of them, really. So what I like to do is I'm going to go ahead and put a bit of grease on the pin and just run it back and forth in there. I'll use the old one. Put a little bit of grease on this pin and just run it back and forth. And then hopefully clean out. See how dirty that comes out after a couple of times? So I'll just do this a couple times on each side. Just try to get as much of the old dirt and gunk and rust, anything that's in there. That side was the side that the good pin was in, and it basically came out clean. I know it looks black, but the grease that they use from the factory is like a lithium or like a graphite based grease, I believe. So it has a little bit of that black, dark gray color to it. Here's our new pins and boots. These are directional, so you got a side small that's going to seal on the pin diameter here, and then a larger side that's going to seat on the shoulder. And lots of grease on there. Can't get a grip off. My fingers are slippery now. There, and you want to make sure when you install that, there's a shoulder here that it's going to seat on. You want to make sure it's down on that shoulder all the way so that the rubber boot doesn't pop off of there. And that's it. That is a rebuilt caliper and caliper bracket for 1/10 of the cost of replacing the caliper. go ahead and I'll flip this back over to a time lapse, and we'll go ahead and get that all assembled now. All right, so that's everything in here is all wrapped up. I'm gonna bring it down here. So we got the rotor on, our rebuilt caliper, got our brake hose reconnected. The only thing I have left to do is the brake wear sensor, wherever that went. There it is. So I just have to reconnect the brake wear sensor, but I am missing, there is a extension cable that the connector is ripped off of. So I've got it on order, and as soon as it gets here, I will connect that. And then I will get my wife out here later, and she'll help me bleed the brakes. I used a kit from Rock Auto, but it's a Raybestos. So it's their painted hat rotors, their pads, and their kit even comes with the new brake sensor, because they recommend replacing them every time. Come with all of the steel shims. It was a really nice kit, really complete for the price, but the only thing I didn't like is it appeared that this paint was wiping off even with just a rag and a little bit of brake clean. So I don't know, we'll see how long it holds up over the long term. A few things I got left. I'm going to go ahead and grease everything greasable under here while I've got the wheels off, and then I'm going to go ahead and clean up a little bit of this rust, and then I'm going to oil spray all of this before I finish buttoning everything up, before I put the inner fender liners back on, everything like that. So thanks for coming to watch. I'm going to end the video here. Probably be 1 or 2 more videos on the truck as we get parts trickling in and as we start to get things put back together. But thanks for tuning in. If you like the video, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe to see more. Thanks.